Hello there, and welcome back to episode 8 of Exotic Industries for Factorio. So, last episode, well, I did something here, hey? And today, well, we're looking at all this, and I know that I wanted to put up a mall this episode, but before I can do this, I needed oil, and that's what I did here. So I grabbed that little oil patch off camera, and now we have a production of 260 oil. So the first thing that I want to do before we actually finally get into the mall process is I want to set up the oil industry. You might ask yourself now, why are you doing this to yourself, Icon? Just get it done with them all. But no, we're not like that. I need plastic bars, and I need not just a few plastic bars as the side production from my steel. No, we need the big deal because it only begins here with the underground belts. So, as a thing here, usage of plastic is way more than just these things. We need it for batteries, which is already very important, but most importantly here, insulated wire has a lot of uses. And, well, if I remember correctly, haha, low density structures, okay. Of course, the infamous low density structure, but the insulated wire goes directly into the advanced circuit, so that means we need plastic for the red circuits, so there is no more discussion about the necessity of that. Therefore, I did do some Hellmod magic. So we're going to roll with this little recipe. I went beyond the basic oil processing, or well, one step further. So bear with me, it's a little bit complicated, but when is it not? I've hopefully prepared everything. Let's see how we fare. By the way, dude, where's my car? Ah, there. So, oil processing. Usually you just go and you do the regular oil processing, and the regular oil processing in this mod yields petrol gas and residual oil. So the residual oil so far, we just transformed it into solid fuel and worked with that. That's no longer a thing for us now. We're going to do so much more with that residual oil because we have learned new techniques. We can take that stuff and transform a fraction of that into light oil, and then a fraction, then we get a medium oil distillate and light oil. The medium oil distillate can be further refined into kerosene and heavy oil distillate, and the heavy oil distillate goes into heavy oil and leaves lubricant distillate, and the lubricant distillate finally turns into lubricant, and we get coke as a side product. So it's a little bit of a lengthy process depicted here, but it is extremely cool because the thing here is we need that kerosene one way or another. We're going to require acidic water, and we also will require kerosene to drive our trains with, and there's lots of uses for that stuff. Very, very important. Acidic water will be very important later for the production of energy crystals. We need that. No further discussion. So here we have already the usage of kerosene covered. Then let's talk about that light oil. It's wonderful because you can use every part of that. Light oil, we're going to reform that back into petrol gas because, I actually need the petrol gas for the plastic. Petrol gas is what we need for the plastic production. We could also transform it into solid fuel, what we did before, and later we can also use petrol gas and light oil and transform that into even more plastic bars. Future times, not now. So where were we left? We got kerosene. Yeah, let's talk about heavy oil here. And that's just to show you how cool this whole process is. I was really baffled when I went through it. Yeah, the heavy oil can be directly transformed into lubricant. And since this factory here is not only purposed to produce plastic, it's also going to produce lubricant, because lubricant is for us a very, very important resource in the future, because lubricant goes directly into drill fluid, and drill fluid is what we need to make later mining things happen. Actually, deep drilling needs drill fluid. No drill fluid, no deep drilling. So you see, the oil industry is in this mod extremely important and vital. Also, that's the first thing, well, I want that lubricant so badly. You can optimize your electric engine unit production. Basically, you double the production by just adding in 10 lubricant into the same recipe here. In a nutshell, this will allow me to just pipe in some lube into this thing and make it doubly as efficient. Nifty, huh? So, enough about that. So we have now the theory down. Let's go to practice. So I have designed this thing, and the beautiful thing about it is when we increase the amount of this, we just need to increase the amount of the other guys, and then it goes even again. So we could easily upscale this factory. Never mind Helmut being weird, okay? So in a nutshell, this is the smallest footprint that I meant to use because, I really want to start out with that mall at some point, but the oil preparation here is quite important, and we'll do what I always do, and I'll be setting up a little bit of a meditational spot here, and I'll set up that oil stuff and go through it with you, how it works, and then we're going to talk further. Alright, I felt like it is time for a little bit of an update. We're not standing at the same point anymore, but over here, here's what I did. So first off, I piped up some coal over there because, we're working with heat after all. The coal right now is one of the things that makes me a little bit concerned. We're working with these old bummers here still. So at some point, I should really think about upgrading them into electrics, but they still work. They still bring up the sufficient amount of coal. So here's what we do. There's the 5 refineries. Nothing too special. Oil goes in here, water goes in here, petrol goes out here, residual oil goes out there. Here's where the stuff gets interesting. So the residual oil gets pumped here into the, let's do this, into the distillation towers. Goes up here, this is the entry point, and this is where those guys got tricky. You have to spread heat, which is going to be spread like this, and you have that residual oil entering from the top, and you have one product leaving from here and the other product leaving from there, which was a little bit of a tough nut to arrange, but I'm quite happy with that layout. So now we have that light oil seeping out there, and it gets piped back into those chemical plants where it gets processed into fresh petrol. That fresh petrol goes down all the way, all the way, all the way, all the way down to me. Look at me. Here, that's me. And jokes aside, I relayed the petrol down to a big coal patch because I want to use the basic plastic recipe where we use raw coal and we get plastic bars out of that. I haven't finished it yet, but well, we're going to make a dedicated line for plastic alone, so no more plastic mixed into the steel line. But yeah, just wanted to give you a quick look on the distillation setup so far. So this was the step 1. Step 2 will be now to get the kerosene refined. So our next job is to refine that stuff into diesel at a chemical plant. We will also have acidic water, and the diesel needs to get refueled and refined into diesel fuel units. So all these new fluids, they bring up a lot of work for us. So I've already decided that I'm going to buckle up, bring up some storage tanks, and at some point, I'm going to store some things like the acidic water and the diesel fluid, because I don't want to go too crazy into that. Here, this is going to be the easiest part. We finally have the lube, and the last thing that I need to do, and I'll do that also off camera, is we need to refine those 25 heavy oil per second also into lubricant, and then we will have a dandy production. Well, so far we have 10 lube per sec. Let's see how much that'll be once we're done with it. Down here, I'm going to finish real quick the plastic refineries and make sure that plastic gets tossed on over here. We are producing not quite the 10 plastic that I have on the table here. We got a production of 85 petrol now, and that's enough for these roughly 8 per second. But if I remember correctly, the production here, well, I cannot remember for sure, but yeah, that was only 1 plast per second. So we're still not at 15 plast per second. But the cool part about this array up here is, you can easily add on. You just need to slap on a few more refineries above or below. Well, most likely above. And then we can just add more of those towers in this direction. So this is an expandable setup. I also need to put up I also need to do something about that cold coke. So there's still plenty of things to do, but I have a good feeling like we're finally getting there. So I'll continue this video when I have set up the rest of the refining patch here, because there's still a handful of things to do. Alright, look where I spawned back. I'm back at my base. That's because the worst parts are over. So here's what I did. That's not much. I have decided to store the kerosene as it is for now, because, I don't need to process it currently. We will process it later, but I figured it is easier to store before we break it up into two different solutions, so there we go. I have now brought up these three little guys here, breaking the heavy oil into more lube, and here's our small scale production going. It is a small scale one. There's not that much going on for it currently. I have realized that I don't even have petrol left to create me some sulfur, but that sulfur it's going to be quite important soon, because I really want to get into explosives, and you see, no sulfur, no explosives, and most importantly, sulfuric acid. It's going to play a vital role in the production of red circuits, so we will have to get through this. The good news is we can use the acidic water that we have as a byproduct, but you see, it is linked to the science pack, so I don't want to go for no half measures. I will bump up the production here rather sooner than later, but currently it is okay. I didn't want to go too big when I planned out this whole facility. I planned it... plastic... Have I overwritten it now? Nah, here. When I was planning out that thing, I originally planned it 3 times as large, but then I realized that I seriously don't have the automation going on for that yet. Speaking about automation, that's where we are headed next. Good news. So I want to say a special thanks to this whole array here backing me up. You see, I did a bit of a pots production lane, copper and iron. I did the pipe factory here. All these things, they really helped me out a ton when I was in need. But we're going to rip all that out and now design the actual mall. This is going to be a lot more difficult than I like it to be, because of the simple fact that this mod has so many parts that I need for the construction of things, There's, to illustrate better what I mean, there's beams and mechanical parts as extra ingredients. There's also the ingot, which can be also made into plate. So in a nutshell, we have 3 different basic ingredients that we have to work around and balance around. And that is, quite frankly said, challenging. Therefore, this whole thing here is starter base 2.0, basically. The whole base here, I think it's going to be it's going to have only one purpose, and that's getting me deeper into automation so that I'm able to expand properly. It's going to be quite impossible for me to upscale this little creature here in a way that it'll be feasible for me to do anything large scale. But we have the basic ingredients down. We have a full belt of iron, we have a full belt of copper, we have 6 units of steel per sec, we have 8 units of plastic per sec. Give me a moment, that just reminds me of something that I meant to do. You see that plastic. It's really important that somebody picks up that plastic that is a side product from the steel production. If that doesn't get picked up, we'll have a backup there. That would be really, really bad. So we're going to do something like that. Really don't like to do this, but I'm still going to do this. So I'm going to bring up a small scale buffer like this. Probably will find a better solution in the long run, but for now, I only do this to make sure that whatever gets churned out by the steel mill is not going to be clogging up the system. You know, if this system is unable to pump out the plastic, the at some point the steel won't be able to be produced anymore. That's what I'm avoiding with that. Anywho, let's keep going, shall we? So I also managed to get the steel and the plastic onto different belts because, you know, that really bothered me. I didn't want it to be like that. It's just not the way I imagined it to be. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set up the basics. We're going to have to say goodbye to a few of these things that have accompanied me here. You know, there's quite a lot of stuff that I need currently anymore. See, those ceramics are not necessarily... And I'm going to dismantle most of the this little pot factory here and bring it back to life in a larger, more glorious way. Because basically, what I realized when I planned them all was that none of these machines requires raw ingots. I have found so far not a single machine that required raw ingot input. That means we can make a parts factory, and then we're going to lead those pods back into the actual mall. I don't know if it makes sense to you already, and if not, well, don't worry, I'm going to make sure it will when we're done with that part. So I'm dismantling all these things now that were accompanying me so far. I really like to have these little, you know, I don't even know how to call them, helper blocks. It just eased up the time, and it did change up my speed. So what we're going to do next, I'll leave this little array here because it does a fantastic job at providing me one electric engine unit per second. This is by no means too much or anything too impressive, but at the end of the day, it is just what I need for my factory. Also, put up the lube on these. Nice, hey? So we're going to set up a little parts factory, and then down here, we're going to set up the actual mall. So I'm going to give you guys small updates here. When I'm done with a little bit of a part there, I'm going to show you what I'm up to. And let's see how far I'll get it. I'm pretty sure that this episode won't suffice, but let's see what I can get done before I run out of time. Alright, my plans are taking shape. So, just to give you an impression about what we're doing here. So, this is the first part of the parts factory. We're converting a pretty large chunk of the material here already. I'm not sure where I will upgrade. I just left a few bits and bobs open. As you see here, I could expand into most of those directions. It would be hard to expand into iron plates here, but where there's a will, there's a way. So I just put these up on together. A sec. On these belts like that, and now we got ourselves the basic goods of copper, iron together. You know, these are all the parts that all the machines are subsisting out of. So we now will have to bring up those other things here in between. So there's more, there's pipes, there's cable, there's lots of little things in between. I was tempted to go even as far and build up the steam engines and all, but then I opted out onto that because we're, well, probably not. Nah, I'll tell you what, we're going to go now one step further, and I'm now going to bring up a little bit of a department where we make pipes, and most importantly, pipes and some cables, if I remember correctly, or wait a sec, no. So I have to check out on a few more details, which stuff we actually need and which stuff we actually don't need. Probably the most nasty part in that whole department here. But yeah, we're definitely going to have to bring up some more things like pipe, and I think that's that. But just wanted to give you a little bit of a quick impression there. The system here is also made to be expandable, but not on a large scale. This will always stay a small scale operation. But well, I'm going to give you a new impression once I'm done with connecting up all the remaining little things that plague my life here. I'll keep you posted. Alright, there we go. So that's pretty much all that I could cook up. I figured that I forgot stone and brick, very, very important resources. So what I did here is a 2.5, 2.5 distribution. So there's 2.5 units of stone left, and we have 1.25 of units of brick. I don't know if we really need more. If we need more, we can plug in more quarries and more electric furnaces, but you see, I figured that this would be quite a nice thing. Then I plugged in some steel again, because I realized I forgot steel beams and steel mechanical parts. And now we have all these wonderful things here stringed up in a row. And over here, we have electronic circuits and plastic. So this is going to be the entire mall footprint, so to say. It's going to be now quite a lengthy ordeal to go through all these things, but I intend to set up, you know, most of the things that we require now. Although I gotta admit, this will take a while. I will thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, we can now get ourselves so many new things that we weren't able to get through, weren't able to get ourselves now. So yeah, but to keep things somewhat under control, I don't want to go now and create casters and whatnot. We're going to go for for all the things that we require. So I'm trying to categorize that thing a little bit. So, well, there's still some episode left, so let's start working until I have some results for you. Alright, and that's where we are currently. So, the materials that I produced went down here, and the first thing that I wanted to set up was a inserter lane, you know. We just now do pretty simple things. I checked out what kind of resources I'd need, then I piped them off, mechanical parts, then we made the turbines that we need for the burner inserters, because I figured that those steam engines, they aren't used in too many recipes, so it's okay to just create them on site. And here we have now inserters of all colors. I have now flipped in some of these materials here as well. And now we got this, and down here is the new street builders department. We're producing the tier 1 belts and splitters of every sort, and for the first time, we are producing everything tier 2 as well. The production of the iron mechanical parts is a tad bit too slow for this one. We would actually and could actually need way more of these, but you know, a mall like this is for me never meant to be working on maximum throughput. It's not about that. It's about replenishing my expansionary materials. If I ever realize that the production ratios are too slow and all, we will of course upgrade that. I mean, pumping up this whole thing to red belts in the near future will already do a lot for this array. But yeah, this is how I'm going to continue with all that. And in all fairness, I will do that off camera and give you a quick introduction in the beginning of the next episode what I did so far, because I feel like, you know, I just wanted to show you a little bit of a beginning where I'm headed with this, and that layout will now continue like that. I'm just going to keep those resource bars run left and right, and then we just pick up from those whatever we require. I plan to do a railway department, you know. We need those locomotives. I don't have engine units here right now, but you get the idea. We're just going to figure it up all on the way. And rails, I want a little bit of a pipe production lane where we also have valves, because valves are great if you need them. I also want to have something for the electricity transport. Probably going to build up those ducts, because ducts are amazing. They are just like, pipes, but 10 times stronger, I think. So what up there, that's that. I'm going to build up a steam engine department, because I think we will stick with steam for a while. We're going to build a mining machine department, a smelter department, and most importantly, assemblers. Then I want to automate the production of chemical plants and all those things. And when I'm done with all that, I'm probably out of my mind and I am ready to record the next episode. So in short, I'm going to do these things off camera and make sure that the mall will be ready for the next episode, because I really don't think that it's that exciting. Much more exciting will be our expansion in the next couple of episodes, and most importantly to ponder about where and how to set up the rail network and how to set up the science base. Those are the things we want to get thinking about, no? So with that all being said, thank you so much for watching. We are now currently almost 18 hours in, and I'm quite happy with that progress. That mall comes together quite nicely. If I need to pump up the ratio or the quotas on whatever, I can do so. But I don't want to overstress the system too much. It's just meant to get me started, and after that we will start out somewhere where I will bring up the science. Alright, my friends, that's that for today. I hope you enjoyed. Leave me your comments down below, leave me your thumbs up, and of course consider subscribing. I'd be really happy to have you on this crazy journey. And next time, well, I'm not quite sure. One thing I do know for sure, I'm going to have the urge to brag a little bit with this, with the then finished mall. And, well, beyond that, I haven't thought of anything yet, but I'm pretty sure I will be able to cook up something. So have a wonderful day, you all. Until then, and see you all next time. Bye-bye.